and as part of this, this is what we call the inner ear, and it is embedded in bone. And so this is in the temporal bone of our skull. So it's not easily accessed, which is good because it's protected. This part, the cochlea, has to do with hearing, and that's what we've been talking about previously. These structures up here, including the utricle and the semicircular canals, have to do with balance. And as you can see from the indications here, the semicircular canals, which are these loops, which are each in right angles to each other, are used to maintain or to keep us oriented when we are moving. So angular rotation of the head, so that when we turn our head, we can tell which direction we're moving, and it also gives us some idea of the speed at which we're moving. But it's only when we are actually changing. Once we reach a constant speed, then the semicircular canals become less important. Now in the utricle, there are gravity sensors, so that if you close your eyes, even if you're in a swimming pool, where you don't have pressure on the bottom of your feet or on your bottom when you're sitting, you still have the sense of which way is down. Now that can be confusing also. It's not always as sensitive, but it is still there. And so that's another part of the balance mechanism. Now, one of the things I would just mention, I'm kind of leading up to, are these small crystals, which are called otoconia, and they are calcium carbonate crystals. And they sit in a gel which secures them in certain areas in the inner ear. And they have to do with balance. And they're in cavities where fluid passes by them, particularly in the semicircular canal. So when you turn your head moves, the fluid has an inertia and doesn't move, and so it stays in the canal in a certain place and goes by these otoconia. And in doing so, they make like a wave that stimulates the nerves underneath that then send the information back to our brain to tell us which direction we're moving, because we have this mirror image in each ear, so that we should have a balance. One ear should be telling us one thing, the other ear should be telling us something which is compatible with that. Now if it gets incompatible, then the brain doesn't know what to do with that, and we often get vertigo. Many of you have probably heard about the problem which is called benign paroxysmal positional vertigo, where the little stones, sometimes referred to the otoconia, are little stones in the inner ear, are displaced. And this happens as we get older. It's more common, and it probably has to do with the gel that holds the crystal it becomes less adhesive, maybe breaks down a little bit. So some of the crystals break loose, and so now they're drifting around in the ear where they don't belong, and when you move your head, you get one set of information from one ear and another set of information in the other ear. The brain doesn't know what to do with that, and you get a spinning sensation. There are good treatments for that, and that is called benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. We often refer to it as BPPV for obvious reasons. The other is a mouthful. But those are all parts of the balance system that we have to deal with every day. We do see people who have hearing loss related to their balance problem, and we see people who have balance problems completely independent of their hearing. But it's the reason that people who are often having balance problems, we want to know the status of their hearing mechanism, because that often gives us a clue as to what's going on with their balance, if we know where their hearing is. Meniere's disease often is associated with some hearing loss as well as balance problems, and that's a classic example where the two are related.